Normally, in Rotary, we have an interesting habit. We run fundraisers, and then we give people tickets, and we say, okay, here's $50 worth of tickets. Now, go raise money. And by the way, if you don't raise money, give us your $50. Well, to me, that's not really creative fundraising. That's a way of hitting up our members for additional funds without really being creative and tapping into external sources, which is where the money really should be coming from people outside of Rotary that see value in what we do. So with that in mind, I'm going to turn it over to two experts who've been in the fundraising business for a long time and happen to be great Rotarians at the same time, and I'll just turn it over and let you introduce yourselves and go for it.
Okay, me first. Hi y'all, I am Tatiana Cannon, and I currently serve as the Managing Director of Development and Public Affairs for Teach for America. And I work for our Oklahoma City and Lawton, so Central Southern Oklahoma office. And my title is a ton of words that means that I do our external relations, our media, our social media, sort of other duties as assigned in that realm, and our fundraising. So that includes grant writing, individual giving, corporate giving, events, all of that good stuff. So that's me. I've been fundraising for about less time than Patrick, for about 9 years now, and absolutely love it. Have so much fun.
Well, I'm Patrick Alexander, and I'm currently retired first of the year, but I'm still working part-time as a consultant for the Children's Center Rehabilitation Hospital in Bethany, Oklahoma, where I've been for about the last 15 years. And I've been in fundraising for about 40 years. So it's been an interesting career. Worked for a lot of large nonprofits and also served for roughly a 30-year period within that 40 years as the executive director of a number of nonprofit organizations here in Oklahoma City, including the Oklahoma Symphony Orchestra, Allied Arts Foundation, and Zoo Friends, the Oklahoma Zoological Society. And we did this about a month ago, and neither one of us took notes. And now whether we'll cover the same ground or not is to be determined. Last time we just sort of tag teamed it and talked about talking points. I guess we'll start off.
Okay, yeah. So there's a couple of things that we like to just ground in when it comes to fundraising. And again, Patrick really set it up. This may be what people heard last time. This may be a special edition. But a couple of things that we always want to be very clear on when it comes to fundraising is sometimes people have the idea of, oh, I don't want to ask people for money. My friends will just feel so bothered. And that is really the biggest detriment to any sort of furthering of a mission, which is really what you're trying to do in your fundraising. So I find so much joy in my work. I've fundraised across healthcare, like public arts, and university advancement, and now education. All of these things, you find this real pride in the option to offer someone to give their dollars and to give their philanthropic efforts to the cause that you deeply believe in. So obviously you all are here on a Saturday morning, which tells me you probably care about Rotary and you probably believe in its functions and what it has done for you as a person. So one of the biggest things we always open with is sort of the grounding cornerstone in fundraising is you're not bothering anyone. You are inviting someone to appreciate something that means a ton to you. And the really tangible way they can do that is to give dollars. The great thing about Rotary is most of the time we're asking them to give dollars to something that's really fun, or at least we'll get them to meet some people who are really fun. So often we just want to first things first shift the mindset that asking for money is scary or annoying or whatever. People know how to say no, people will say no, but the real thing that you should approach with is just a real pride in your product, which for this is Rotary, and an excitement for what you're doing because it is fun and you want other people to feel the fun and then want to get involved that way, whether it's with their dollars, their attendance, or both.
Great. Yeah, like Tatiana said, it's all about attitude. Am I loud enough? No?
Yeah.
Yes? Okay. I'll get louder. It's all about attitude and fundraising. And if you enter into it, you need to enter in with a good attitude. You're talking to people that are like-minded. You're going to be talking to your friends. You're going to be dealing with a cause, like Tatiana said, that's worthwhile. So it's all about your attitude. When you go into it, be positive, be forthright about it, and really be an advocate for what you're doing. Years ago, I was helping a small school here in Oklahoma City run by some Carmelite nuns. And they were doing a terrible job of fundraising. They had a fabulous organization with a 60-year history of providing elementary education to the Catholic community. Some of the biggest leaders in Oklahoma City had gone to school there. They kept meticulous records, which is a key for fundraising success, but they felt that the activity of going out and asking somebody to help them was tantamount to begging. We had a pretty good discussion about the fact that they weren't really begging. They were asking people to share in their dream, and they're asking people to share in their success of education. They formed a small volunteer council of parents. They went out in the community and they were stunned because just with a few asks, going out, telling their story, talking about their needs, being enthusiastic, they were able to raise not what they needed, but 2 times what they needed. And really set them up for success for a number of years. But as most of us know from reading, the sisters began to age out and decided to change their mission, which had very little time to do with fundraising, but more to do with the state of affairs in their organization. So attitude is everything. We're lucky in Rotary in that normally we pick projects out in the community. And most of us, when we do that, I've noticed over the years it can be kind of hit or miss. And the Rotary Club I belong to, West, we began to more or less look at what our membership was involved in and then embrace those causes. We found that to be really good because we had leaders in those organizations. We were able to interface with the staff. They were able to focus our efforts to help out. And so what happened was, by becoming organized, that's really the key to fundraising, is organization. You need to form a committee. You need to put some people on it who are necessarily willing to work. You need to put together a little bit of a plan. And fundraising is nothing more than sales. Each and every one of you, let's see a show of hands. How many people started out in sales in the room here? No hands?
No hands.
Oh, lots of
Oh,
hands.
there they are, yeah.
You all started in sales. Those of you that aren't in sales, do you have somebody that works with you that's in sales? I'm sure you do, if you have a private business, because nobody comes through the door unless you work at it. And it's pretty simple. If you're selling for your business, you look for likely people. And fundraising for Rotary, look to your friends, look to your neighbors, look to people that you know to help you, to assist you. Once you convince somebody to give to your annual project, don't be shy about going back to them again to help, and certainly don't let them drop off the list for the second year. That's where most fundraisers go awry, and they don't keep records and they don't follow up. Tatiana?
Yeah, so I would continue on that sales path and say, if you think of yourself as in the business of sales, the best advice that I think we could offer for the fundraising is put yourself in the shoes of the customer. So we can all think of sales situations that are not good, where you've been either in a store or on like a car lot, or in an elementary school bombarded by small children holding candy bars, whatever it may be. You have positive or negative experiences associated with sales. So I would say in this line of thought, think of yourself as the donor when you are going to be asking. So what I mean by that is, I don't know if any of you have experienced the person who is like, hey, I've got this thing, and like, it's okay, but it's next Thursday, and if you're not busy, maybe you could stop. It's honestly, it's not worth it, never mind. And they talk themselves down in their own sales pitch. Has anyone ever had this happen to them when someone is like, Asking them, no? Okay, good. I'm glad that's only happened to me. So the first thing that you will need is just, again, think of how that made you feel as someone potentially wanting to participate. Obviously, you're not compelled. And that's where, again, the pride in your product and the confidence in what you're asking for is so huge. So walking in and saying, there's this super fun event. I've met incredible people through my local Rotary, and the leadership in this community that this particular club is able to offer has been above and beyond, and I would really love your support. Come to whatever your event is, or would you mind supporting our annual fund, or whatever your particular club has. And the other thing is, when you think of sales as well, how do you typically look for products anyway? Is you ask a friend. I think of all of the things that I have right now that I'm like wearing, all the way from my glasses to my lipstick to my shoes, are all things that at some point I've probably had a friend endorse or tell me that they liked, or they told me they liked the store or something like that. So if you're, again, putting yourself in the shoes of the customer, think about how easy it is to have a conversation with someone when they walk up and they're like, hey, I like your tie. Or, hey, I like your shirt, whatever it may be. And you can also treat so many asks that way. It's be like, hey, I actually have this really cool thing I'm doing. I would love for you to join. It doesn't have to feel like a scripted presentation that you give. It's a very casual ask a lot of times. And when you start with your network and your people, it actually eases a lot of the anxiety, I think, that a lot of people run into. So utilize your network. Approach confidently, and again, have fun, and don't be afraid to convey that fun. I know now that I'm literally saying nothing that I said last time, so I'm going to back to you and see what that makes you think.
Well, like Tatiana said, really embrace your product, embrace your mission, and it really helps if you're doing fundraising, make your gift first before you go talk to a friend. So much more convincing if you can tell them to ask what you're doing, for you to tell them why it's important to you, and for you to invite them to become part of something that you feel is special. And you'll be surprised that that works. Let's skip ahead here. All of us hate setbacks when you ask for things. I learned a long time ago in fundraising that you're going to have to make a lot of asks to be successful, and any no's that you get, by and large, are just maybes. They're always maybes. You can always go back, unless they get real adamant with you that they don't want to talk about it. That could be a different story. But if they're friends, you can always go back and revisit it. If you have a business and your Rotary Club is selling tables, very effective to buy a table and treat your friends to a night out, because the odds are next time around you can convince them to buy their own table. We see a lot of this at the Rotary Club West because they get out with the group, and most Rotarians really know how to have a good time. I see Ian there. I know the Midtown guys really do. They do a fabulous spelling derby, spelling brew, I think that's the name of it.
Spelling beer.
Spelling beer. I've been many times because first some friends invited me, later I brought friends. Great event, wonderful cause, they do great work, and they're able to sell it because once you get the people there, they want to come back. It's a great event. And all of you are Rotarians, I'm sure each and every one of your clubs is having fun. If you're not having fun, you need to change clubs. But don't do that. So what you do is, don't worry about failure. Everybody knows Babe Ruth. Do most people realize that he struck out how many times more? He struck out more times than he ever hit a home run. Thomas Edison developed the light bulb. He failed with his tungsten, which he finally resolved that tungsten would work as the filament, 6,000 times before he successfully created a light bulb that would stay lit. Now, that means, going back to you have to make a lot of asks. But what are a lot of asks if you're out in the community? They're not anything special. Every one of you that works in an office building rides up the elevator every day. At lunchtime, while you're in the elevator and the elevator's full, great time to solicit people to buy tickets. Don't let them off the elevator until they buy. I've done that before. Works great. So be a little bit aggressive, be positive, and overcome, really try to overcome any reluctance that you have. And never start out with the excuse, I hate raising money, because you do it all the time. You do it for church, you do it for each and every activity, you do it for things that are special. You make your kids do it, they sell light bulbs, terrible job. They go out and sell Girl Scout cookies. I'm always amazed by the parents who set up the Girl Scout cookies with wagons as you come out of the Thunder game. Tremendous idea. You need to find ideas that work, and you need to stick with them. And like we said earlier, I think the key to success is to get organized. Most organizations do not spend any time getting organized, and that's easy to do. Fundraising is a process. You go after the people that have the money. Years ago in Oklahoma and Kansas, there was a great bank robber, Willie Sutton. No relationship to our coaches at Oklahoma State University. They robbed banks. Finally, they arrested Willie Sutton. Somebody, bad question, they said, Willie, why do you rob banks? His answer, that's where the money is. So if you're going to raise money, go where the money is. Go to the big companies in your town. Go to the restaurants, go to the places that use your product, that know you. Go talk to them, get them involved, make an ask, and realize that America is all about fundraising. We looked at some stats in our last session. 2016, Giving USA, statistics drawn from U.S. tax returns, over $390 billion was reported as gifts on U.S. tax returns. That doesn't include all the money that was dropped in church plates or Salvation Army. Giving up by more than 4% last year in 2016 over 2015. Now, Oklahoma. We think of ourselves sometimes, some people have a bad attitude about Oklahoma. I don't. I moved here from Virginia. I can tell you it's a great state. We rank 10th in giving on a per capita basis in the country. We are one of the most effective states for giving money, for responding to people in need, and for doing so. Number one, you could probably guess, is Utah. Other leaders are mostly western states, farming communities like Oklahoma. So we're well positioned to raise money, especially from our friends and neighbors.
So the final thing I will say, and then I'll make sure that Patrick puts a bow on things before we open up for questions, is keep good records. So when you ask someone for money, as Patrick said, a no is so rarely a no. A no is often, maybe, ask me later, ask me for something different, so on and so forth. But if you, year over year, are reinventing your ask list, are going back to brand new people, then you lose momentum, you lose the option to circle back, and often you'll lose people who would be huge supporters, but maybe it just dropped off their to-do list. So if anyone needs help getting organized, I know that can sometimes feel really daunting. It's not my best skill, but one, that is a wonderful job for the person who is truly, truly petrified of the idea of fundraising, but really wants to step up in a way, is give them the task of, okay, help keep this system running, help get us on track. Things like Google Docs go a long way because they exist. You can edit them in real time. They exist in perpetuity. All you need is to keep that link somewhere within your club. Sometimes Excel spreadsheets can even get a little bit messy once you pass them around 5 different ways. So I always recommend Google Docs as something that you can circle back to. Or even as simple as sign-in sheets at events. Just somebody snap a picture of those and be sure that you have them. Or file them somewhere so you can go and look the next year. Just always make sure that your records are staying in one place and that you can circle back to them. It's so much easier to retain a donor than to create a new one. And so your best thing, and as Patrick said, some people may come as a guest and the next year they may be like, actually that was super fun, let me bring some family and friends. But you'll miss out on all of that if you never remember that first phone call to someone who was attending in the past.
So just to add to that, keep records, organize a committee, keep records, and keep good records. If, everybody worries about having computerized programs, that's great. But if worst case, get 2 recipe boxes.
There you go.
And one recipe box, fill out a card with the people's names and addresses and telephone numbers and what they gave. And another box, write down the month in which they gave and cross-file them. And start keeping some records. And once you do that, that's going to be a big help. In addition, when you sit down and have your first organizational meeting, before you launch your project, make up a simple timetable. You do this at work. If you're going to mail out a flyer, well, it takes a while to prepare that flyer. So write down some key dates that you're going to get various things done and try to stay on your timetable. That way, you won't be 1 week away from the event and you failed to mail your brochure out to all your friends in the community. That's not very effective. So set up a timetable, set up a little bit of a work schedule, keep track of your records, and then empower the people to go out and make asks. And one of the easiest, ways to do that is have a little bit of a training session, practice on one another, making some asks. Have a glass of wine or a beer, that'll help. And then go out and have a successful project. After the project's over, thank the people that came. Either call them or send them a postcard. Record the fact that you thanked them. And then next year, start off a little bit earlier. And in time, you'll have a really successful event. There are a lot of great successful events in the Rotary world in Oklahoma City to copy or to mirror your activity after. And I think if you do that, build on your past success, make it so it's fun. Some organizations that sell tickets to their events, maybe they come up with a prize for the top salesperson, for the top fundraiser. That's a lot of fun. So if you build a little bit of fun into what you're doing and you're consistent and you work hard at it, I know you'll be successful, because at the end of the day, you partnered with an organization in the community, you're sharing in their mission, and you're making something happen that wouldn't happen otherwise if you weren't involved.
Now, I want to add something to this. This year we did something that's very different and very creative, and I want to issue an opportunity and a challenge to everyone. This year we decided to make our district conference a 1 day, probably a total of 3 or 4 hour event. And part of the event, we're having a world-class entertainer show up. My suggestion is, if you're afraid to ask people to join your club, if you're afraid to ask people for money to support your project, go out and tell them, we have this incredible entertainer showing up at our district conference on Saturday, April 28th. He will be on for about an hour, but the total program will have some Rotary-related things. But I can tell you the cost of going to this is $100. It's open to the public. It's open to anyone you want to invite. And an equivalent show, I'm going to give you more information in a second, an equivalent show here either at the Civic Center or in Las Vegas or around the world where he entertains would be hundreds of dollars, $200+ for an equivalent seat, to be that close to the action and to see him. The entertainer is Shin Lim. Shin Lim is a world-class magician. He's won all kinds of awards. He's performed with Penn and Teller in Las Vegas. He was just recently at the Wynn Casino in Macau. He's been all over the world. $100 is probably about a half to 1/3 of what someone would pay to see him. If I were you, I would go sell the event as an opportunity to see a world-class entertainer, and by the way, have a really comfortable way of seeing who Rotary is, who Rotarians are, and what we do, and be part of this, and sell that event to people as a way to get them in a very, very non-threatening way to be around a few hundred Rotarians. And I would pretty much bet that anyone that you can have come see this amazing show, which by the way, he has several videos on YouTube. One of them has over 48 million views. So this guy is big time. Now, if I were you, I would invite anyone and everyone that you know to go online. You can direct them to our Rotary website that you saw before, rotary5750.org. Sign up, you can pay online, and show up and see the show. And I'll bet you that a large percentage of the people that you would have come and see that show, you would be able to approach later on as either a potential member or a potential person to help fund the things that we do, because during that conference, not only are we going to have an incredible entertainer and incredible show, but we're also going to be reviewing and handing out some awards to people for the incredible projects and things we do around the community. So you won't have to sell a thing. We'll be selling it for you just by recognizing all these amazing Rotarians in our district. So my challenge to you is, if you're not comfortable selling, if you're not comfortable asking for money or for membership, go get them to see a world-class show, and all they need to do is show up and we'll handle the rest.
Great thought.
Great thought.
Questions?
Yeah, anybody have any questions? Front row, center. Can't hear you.
We can't hear Chuck. Is he on mute? They may be on mute.
Okay, we've got you now. Go ahead.
Do you have any experience with websites like Classy or Razoo? Are they beneficial? Are they easy to use, hard to use?
Yeah, I use Classy regularly. It's pretty, I mean...
Why don't you review the question he asked, just in case anyone didn't hear it?
Okay, yeah. So the question was the fundraising platforms that have been used, and I believe you asked about Classy specifically, and what was the other one you asked about?
Razoo?
Oh yeah, okay. So Razoo would be the other one. I use Classy. It's easy enough. Something I would say is that often PayPal can be used and is very, very simple and can actually just be added as like a link or what would be called a plugin to like an existing site. Facebook can also link with PayPal, so you can just put it, if you create a Facebook event, you can just have it linked to PayPal. I always encourage anything that drives online traffic. I think a lot of people, at least obviously in my generation, I'll go ahead and divulge, I'm in my early 30s, so if that gives you a grasp of like the age range of someone who may be leaning towards online giving, I pretty much exclusively give online. So I would say if you can, do, but don't feel like you need to reinvent the wheel. So Classy would be really easy if you wanted to. Eventbrite does charge a fee, but it also gives the participant an option to cover the fee, which is like $1.48 or something usually. So go for whatever is the most tech friendly and easiest for you. But also don't be afraid to just use something like PayPal that kind of takes out the guesswork and doesn't make you have to create a whole new website. You can just add that as a link that will direct people to pay there. Any other thoughts?
Well, and I would think of fundraising like a toolbox. Definitely, you want to take advantage of the new social media type of things that have come up over the last few years, over the last couple of decades, and certainly all of us are doing more of that every day. But at the same time, don't overlook the tried and true, getting a check from them, getting cash, depending on the size of your town, maybe recapable tires, whatever works as a donation, do it. But don't overlook any tool that you might be able to use, and don't rely exclusively on any one tool. Don't think that a mailing is going to solve your problem, because if you don't follow the mailing up with some personal visitation and some one-on-one, it's not going to be successful to the degree that you think it should be. And the same holds true for social media. In other words, just use a varied amount of tools that are available to you, be creative, and get out. And really the most effective way is a personal ask.
Other questions?
How about from the Capitol Room? Who's there? Can we zoom in on it? Is Mary Fallon there? She was a Rotarian for years. Oh, nobody in the Capitol room. Okay. Can't hear them. Pioneer Tech. They're muted. Okay. No questions.
So give us an example of a successful fundraiser that your club does. Anyone that has one that they're really proud of, and tell us why it works. How about the spelling beer people? Why is that one successful?
Ian, tell us about spelling beer.
Yeah.
Let's put you on the spot.
I think one of the reasons it works is not only is it for a great cause, but it's just a really fun event. We've done a good job with video that not only has some people there that are willing to give us some in-kind sponsorships to keep our costs really low, but it's also an enticing venue as well. Obviously, the theme is something that not everybody does by any means. It's definitely, I think, a little more creative, which I guess props to Megan Law, our former district governor. That was initially her idea, actually. But, you know, alcohol never hurts either, I think, a little bit. Help entice people, and then when they're at the event, help them loosen up the pocketbook a little bit, you know, for things like silent auction. And with who we're plugging with the community, we usually have a good silent auction, you know, in regards to art items. But every year we continue to improve it to try and make it, you know, more enticing and more fun and fresh, and you know, something that both basically all age groups, all varieties of people feel welcome to come to it.
Chuck.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Every year, our sponsors and our partners are growing. I think that is definitely been instrumental to our success.
You've also jumped up to bigger venues over time too, I know. So you really have been building it over time.
Yeah. And then, like Emily said, yeah, our community partners, those have grown a lot. We're doing some in-kind sponsorships that, you know, have some good value there. They bring a lot of value to the event. And just in general, the corporate sponsorships that we did, you know, we introduced that a few years ago. And it's definitely led to more of a multiplier. You know, in regards to the funds that we're raising year after year, it's almost an exponential growth for us.
So you came up with something that to me is a key. Corporate sponsors getting external funds other than getting money from the members of your club. And I think that's extremely important. There's a whole universe of people and organizations out there that want to do good, that want to participate with quality organizations, which Rotary is. And they're looking for ways to spend money, believe it or not. They're looking for avenues to give money where they can go back to their constituents, to their employees, and say, hey, look at all the great things we're involved in, and look at the things we've accomplished. And I think, honestly, it's up to us as that organization, as that product and service, to go out and give them an opportunity to donate to us to make it happen. The other thing I was going to say is, we have a club, Northwest OKC. Is anyone from here from Northwest OKC? Okay, they started, Chuck, you used to be in that club.
Here, I call it the valley.
Yeah, well, and they started literally going to a mall, having someone dress up in a Santa suit, and offering to take photos of kids sitting on Santa's lap. And eventually they also went to the Easter Bunny and taking pictures of kids sitting on the lap, and they would charge for taking the photos. Now eventually they upgraded and they went to digital photos, and they went to having the photos on a flash drive that you could buy. But they make, I shouldn't say they make, they gross something like $35,000 off of doing this. So my question is, why couldn't, in another venue, a club go to a Home Depot and say, hey, you sell all the things that people use for Christmas. You sell Christmas trees, you sell wreaths, you sell all this, or a Michael's store, or a, I'm trying to think of another craft store, and go there and say, hey, how would you like to partner with us to do something for the community and offer something? And go to one of those places and offer to do something similar, but with a twist. And the twist would be, not only are we going to take pictures and you're going to help us raise money for an incredible cause, the things that Rotary does, but we're also going to promote, hey, that Christmas tree that we use in the background to take the picture and the wreath, you sell these things in your store. So how about if, while we do this, we also promote the fact that you sell these things, and maybe we help get you additional business for allowing us to do this. What I'm telling you is, there are so many creative ways to raise money outside of our Rotary clubs and get people and businesses within our own communities involved, that all you need to do is be flexible in your thinking and be creative and think outside the box. And the money's out there waiting to be raised. You just have to figure out ways to go for it and be proactive in approaching these people.
Something that we talked about last time that translated also to some of our smaller Rotary clubs. So you may live in a city where you have one major driver of business. I believe last time it was a car dealership. And something we brought up is also, and as Bob just said, it doesn't have to be a financial gift sometimes to really drive your mission. So when we were talking about the car dealership, we said, what if you request of that dealership in this smaller town? I want to say it was Pryor. Am I remembering things correctly?
Right.
That you say, hey, would you host a barbecue for us? And we just want to have some awareness about our club. You guys provide the burgers and the whatever else. And then we'll just invite our people. Please invite other community members. And then you have also like shared the burden of getting people there. It takes away some of the pressure of a Rotary specific event. You have really not inherited much, if any, cost. And you're also partnering with your local business to theoretically drive traffic and drive business to them. Businesses love that and absolutely will latch onto it so easily. So as we are all hammering home, definitely think outside the box and don't be afraid to do so outside of a specific fundraiser. There are plenty of ways to incorporate others. I saw some other hands going up before I started. I see some, okay, I don't know where to start.
Chuck, any-
Sorry, back here, one thing that we did this year, and shout out to Bricktown Rotary for helping to educate us on how to do it. And I'm sure there's other clubs, obviously, that have done it as well, but there's probably some clubs that haven't done it yet, and that is establish a foundation within your club where you have your own foundation. So when you're doing your fundraising, you have, a legit 501c3 tax exempt status that you can offer to the people outside of Rotary that you're fundraising to. Previously we were locked in a 501c4, I believe, that technically did not give our sponsors a tax write-off. And so when we established that foundation this year, we actually give our sponsors tax write-offs.
Great idea. Co-promoting stuff with other organizations in the community is really a great way to go. Years ago, when I was first starting out with the Zoological Society in Oklahoma City, we wanted to beef up our family membership program. We changed the name to Zoo Friends, and we were able to get the Mathis brothers, who were quite interested in the zoo, to have Zoo Friends Month at the zoo, which happened to be the month of May, which was a very slow sales month for the furniture company. Well, today, if you talk to any of the people out at Mathis Brothers, May is their biggest month because they have been able to first make a generous donation to the Zoological Society, a portion of each and every membership that's sold there. But nowadays they're selling upwards of 20,000 memberships at the store, which drives 20,000 plus customers out to the store. And what do? They go shopping. And so it turned into a great win-win situation. It built a nonprofit membership base up into a really high number, and at the same time it provided some opportunities for the vendor. And every town is like that. We talked prior about the fact that the car dealer was wanting to drive traffic. The Rotary Club was wanting to call attention to themselves. They hooked up and did the barbecue in the parking lot. Everybody was a winner. And I think that's the case with any successful promotion, is to call attention to both parties. And also partnerships with other Rotary clubs. Rotary West, there's a couple of members. We've partnered with other Rotary clubs over the years in events, and works quite well if you bring in other people to help and to share in the success.
I want to give you another idea, something that's actually going on as we speak. Peter Hodges from Club 29 and I got together one day for lunch. Peter's company is the company that's hired to run the OKC Auto Show twice a year, and they also run the auto show in Tulsa. And we were talking, I said, Peter, how many people come through the show? He said, you know, it's not a public number, but unofficially at least 10,000 people go through the show. I said, let me ask you something. Is it possible for you to comp us a table or a booth at the show and allow us to do a raffle to raise money for our youth programs? He said, well, I never really thought about it, but what would you need? I said, well, we need the booth comp because we don't want to have to pay for the booth. And we have to buy tickets. He goes, no. He said, I already have raffle tickets I can give you. I said, well, we need something to raffle. I said, it would be really nice if we had something car-related to raffle. So we started brainstorming, and he got the 7-Eleven stores to donate to us free of charge a $500 gas card, good at any 7-Eleven anywhere in the United States. So we now have, as we speak, because the show is this Friday, today, Saturday, and tomorrow, we have a booth at the Oklahoma City Auto Show at the State Fairgrounds, where there'll be 10,000 people coming through. And we have a $500 gift card that was donated, gas card that was donated, and we're going to raffle this thing off. And I bet you we raise somewhere between $3,000 and $5,000 or more, free of charge, zero cost. And we've got Rotarians manning the booth there. The thing about this is they also have a show in October, which hopefully we'll be able to be there also. They have a show that's out of our district in Tulsa where we may be able to send some people and run that. But thinking a little bit ahead of the curve, you know, there's an Affair of the Heart, has a show there. And there are other shows that are one-day shows. Why aren't we contacting those people? And Affair of the Heart, let's say, is a craft show. Why don't we have Michael Stores or who's the other big craft store? Hobby Lobby, donate a $250 or a $500 gift card, get the show to donate a booth, and let us raffle off tickets there. And I'm sure in all of the cities that we operate in, there are similar types of events that we can piggyback with, where they'll donate us the space and maybe even the thing to raffle off. And here's another way for us to meet thousands of people that we can hand Rotary information to, that maybe they'll think about becoming members. Maybe they'll buy raffle tickets and help us raise money. There's so many ideas out there of things we can do outside of our normal thought process and outside of our normal, let's hit up our own members, that once again, all we need to do is be creative. And these are things that we've actually done or are doing that are proven fundraisers that are fairly comfortable for us to do, where we don't have to go out and hit up 100 of our friends if we don't feel comfortable doing that, or 20 people at work if we don't feel comfortable doing that. But yet these people are out there and these events are out there waiting for us to partner with them. So be creative.
Other questions? Yeah.
Chuck?
501c3, Rotary District 5750 Foundation, that you can have your corporate donors donate to them, and the foundation will then in turn make a contribution back to your club. We can't do it for like tickets or cents or $25, $30. The guy's going to give you $1,000, $500. You can do it through our foundation, and it's strictly pass-through, which saves you having to mess around with foundation status and pay the $450 it takes to set the thing up. Something I thought was interesting that I think I've actually been involved in 3 or 4 of the ongoing fundraisers that are floating around, like Bricktown's Basil Line and Rotary, and the Midtown's spelling beer. I wasn't involved in, but the comments the same, including Northwest Santa Project. A lot of these things lost money the first time they were done, and the notion being, a lot of them clubs will try these things, they don't work out the first year, so they stop. These things are successful now, making lots and lots of money, because they've been going on now for several years. And so once you go down this path, take 3 or 4 years to let get the awareness and get your customers doing it, and then they'll become cash cows. Early on, most of them don't do really well early on. Speaking as the guy that sat in the Easter Bunny did, while somebody took pictures of the Polaroid, you got to get somebody to pay $5 for it.
Chuck, that's an excellent point. Thinking, once again, bringing it back to a business level, it takes typically 9 contacts with a customer before you get a sale. That's just the overall statistic. So for us to ask someone for money or to put out a fundraiser and stop after the first year is not really letting it germinate. It's not really letting it build. We're basically killing it because we didn't get an immediate short-term good time feel and dollar success. You're absolutely right, Chuck. If you have something that you know is a good venue for raising money, just because it didn't get the mega results the first year doesn't mean it's not going to be a long-term success. It means you have to learn from what went right and what went wrong the first year, tweak it, and keep it going and build it.
Lots of special events are available, long lists of them. If you Google up Rotary special events, and a number of lists will come up, and you'll find upwards of 300-400 ideas in one spot. Pinterest also has some really great ideas at their website of activities that have been done by other organizations around the country. Online you can also find some excellent examples of organization principles, sort of a checklist of things you need to do if you're going to do a special event. Amazing enough, there's a great special events listing and how-to program available at the U.S. Department of Army. They do great events, and they're very handy about publishing their roadmap on how to do a great event, even down to how many porta potties you need if you're doing an air show. But there's all sorts of great resources online. If you spend 20-30 minutes going through there, you're going to find some really stimulating ideas. A thing that we did at Rotary West, which was great success, is all the membership went out one night and took dance lessons together. We all paid money, we had dinner, we had a fabulous time, and it was pretty age appropriate, and we brought a lot of friends along, raised the money for a club at Putnam City West High School that one of our members was involved with, and just a great evening's activity which everybody could relate to. But there's a ton of activities. Look online, find some, and set forth with them and do them. And don't be worried if you're not successful the first year. You'll be successful the next year.
Do we have other questions? Words of wisdom.
Okay, well, if there's nothing else, we're going to leave you with the final thoughts that there's a lot of money out there. There are a lot of people and organizations that are looking for legitimate places to partner with, that have money that they're willing to give. There are sources, some of which you've been told about today. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. They're out there. Go for it. Raise the money. Make your clubs more profitable, more fun to be at, doing more things in the community. And with that, if there's no other questions, let's take a break and lunch will be ready in about 5 or 10 minutes. Thank you.
Thanks, y'all.